How I find AI faceless niches that can actually print money through YouTube automation. Now guys, no yapping, this is going to be an exact guide on how I go about finding faceless YouTube niches that are entirely untapped, how you can kind of find ones that have little to no competition and where you can be the only person in that micro niche doing your own kind of content. Now this is probably one of the biggest questions I get doing YouTube automation for the last few years, and I'm here to answer it in today's video. Now of course, before we get into this is not financial advice, it's merely me giving my personal expertise. Now, of course, this is the first kind of thing you have to do is choose the style of content you want to go with. Now, this should be something you know when you're kind of first getting into YouTube automation. You might have somewhat of an idea, or you might not, and that's completely fine. Now, what do I mean by this? Whether you want to do long form, short form, ultra long form, you kind of want to have that idea in the back of your mind going into this because these methods work specifically for whatever kind of niche or style of content you're really looking to do. So for example, the way I show something will only work if you're doing it for long form and vice versa for short form. So of course, once you kind of know what you want to go with, and what I'm going to do is kind of walk you through the differences in RPMs and what you can kind of expect. Now, this channel right here would be an example of a regular long form channel. There's three types of different kind of channels you can get into. That would be short form, ultra long form, and long form. Now, this bound channel is a perfect example of a regular long form channel. RPMs you can kind of expect on a niche like this would be $4 to $5. I would say in terms of regular long form, I classify that as anything less than about an hour and 20 minutes. And of course, short form would just be anything less than 60 seconds. That's obviously on the shorts feed. And I guess not 60 seconds anymore because you can kind of do 3-minute videos. RPMs on regular long form, as I said, can be anywhere from $4 to even $20 if you're doing something like a finance niche. But in the regular, YouTube automation space, the average RPM is going to be anywhere from $3 to $7. Now, ultra long form, an example of a channel in this space would be something like Space Dust. They essentially post very similar content to long form, but of course, the videos are upwards of 3 hours. Now, a big difference in the style of content from regular long form versus ultra long form would be the fact that the majority of ultra long form channels are entirely made with AI, whereas long form, yes, there are AI aspects used, but the amount of human kind of content needed is a bit higher in terms of the barrier to entry because the videos being a little bit shorter mean you kind of need to capture the viewer's attention and be a little bit more critical with the steps you take. Whereas with ultra long form, most people are kind of falling asleep to the content, so it doesn't really matter what the visuals are and you can kind of just wing the whole thing. Now, shorts, I think all of you guys already know where I'm getting at when it comes to short form. RPMs can be anywhere from 15 cents to 30 cents. Of course, I have seen some shorts channels get a 40-cent RPM. And of course, if you merge that in with music deals, you can get upwards of $1, but it really doesn't get higher than that. Now, of course, with ultra long form, which is by far my favorite kind of niche, you can expect RPMs anywhere from $20 to even $50 per 1,000 views. Now that we kind of know what we want to go with, whether we're doing a specific type of ultra long form channel or long form, you might have somewhat of an idea. How do we actually find niches? Now, ultimately, every single method I'm about to show you, and a lot of these are gatekept, we're going to be able to kind of merge regular long form into ultra long form and vice versa. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that in today's video, but lock in, this is going to be exciting. So first up, we have the X method. Now, this is essentially the method that involves going on Twitter, also known as X, and looking up stuff like YouTube niches. Now, I get a lot of hate, honestly, for finding niches this way, but I've honestly found this to be a fantastic way. As you can see, is if you look up YouTube niches, you'll see a ton of these kind of tweets where they're showing untapped YouTube niches. Now, for example, this one, the baseball explainer, you can see they're showing you a bunch of kind of YouTube automation style of content. This one right here, there's 4 just straight off the bat. Now, yes, this can be a little bit oversaturated if you are looking on brand new tweets or by some of the biggest guys in the Twitter industry. Like for example, this Jamesify Blocks channel is a perfect example of a channel that's following the kind of Roblox trend and could be a super long-term, genuinely long-form niche to get into. Now, one thing you kind of want to avoid when you are doing this is going with these massive people, because chances are if they're on the top of your feed when you're looking up YouTube niches, people have already used these specific channels. So filter it by latest, and the majority of these are going to be quite shit. I'm not going to lie to you, but you can find a ton of hidden gems. Like just by scrolling for a few minutes, some of these will have little to no likes and they've just been tweeted out. Like for example, guys, this one here only has 49 likes. It kind of flew under the radar on November 9th. It was a ultra long form channel. You guys can see right here, it was called Sleep Nomad. What we can actually do is look up Sleep Nomad and bang, we can find that channel that this guy was talking about. And when he posted it, he had 39k subs. Now he has 43k subs. So it can also be used as a good way to find channels that are kind of making mistakes in certain places. For example, this was an ultra long form channel. You can see this guy isn't posting very often, but of course, if we go to his view stats profile, he's pulling in 500,000 views a month with an RPM of about $25. This one channel is making $13,000 a month. And you can of course just scroll Twitter for a couple hours or even a couple minutes and find a ton of ultra long form channels. Bedtime history, this is another one that we just found just then. Now that is kind of the X method. There are other ways of doing this, and this is why I said depending on what you're going with, whether it's short form, long form, it kind of varies. You can look up YouTube short niches, for example, and you'll find a bunch of untapped YouTube short niches rather than regular long form. So kind of switch that up to whatever niche you might be looking to do. And guys, really quickly, the video is not over, but if you want to join my public Discord server, it's discord.gg/1%. I actually do weekly calls where I invite all of you guys in for completely free, and we all just kind of chat and talk all things YouTube automation. Just a really cool networking environment. Once again, if you want to go ahead and join, it's discord.gg/1%, and it'll also be linked down below. Now, the next method that I like to use is something called YouTube SEO. Now, I have spoken about this before, and this can be one of the most useful, if not the most useful tool for identifying kind of brand new niches that nobody is doing. Now, let's say, for example, you wanted to do something like ultra long form. As you guys know, let's say you wanted to find similar niches to this Sleep Nomad channel. As we know, this specific channel itself is kind of made for you to fall asleep to. That's kind of what ultra long form is as a whole, if that kind of makes sense. So by YouTube SEO, that means search engine optimization. What we can actually look up is 2 hours of fall asleep to. Now, I know it's a little bit of broken English, but by doing this, if we go ahead and filter it by this week, we'll find a ton of ultra long form channels that are brand new because we're obviously filtering them by this week. And you'll see a ton of them that we've just found by filtering through. Now, I've just found about 4 I've clicked on in less than 5 minutes. First one right here, Pokey Aim MD. You can see that they recently posted an ultra long form video that was relaxing Pokemon Showdown battles to fall asleep to. We know that this probably isn't the channel we want to go with. It's not really ultra long form, so we'll skip past that. But this one, Cyric, they started a month ago and they're posting like 2 hours of Silk Song facts to fall asleep to, 2 hours of Sonic facts to help you sleep, 2 hours of Dark Soul facts to fall asleep to, and they're absolutely blowing up right now. They've only just started, so this could be an example of finding a channel that is brand new in an exact space you want to do and just replicating and finding it quite early. And of course, we can check their views. They've done 91,000 views so far. They're of course monetized, times that by about a $25 RPM, and this one channel has made over $2,000 already. Now, we also found this channel by doing this, which is posting 2 hours of Demon Slayer, what ifs to fall asleep to, pretty interesting. And then of course we found lore documentaries. This is probably the most interesting one I've found so far. And this essentially posts the entire story of Dark Venomous, essentially like Star Wars theories. And they're absolutely killing it. I mean, once again, they're posting in ultra long form. So they're pulling in about 100k views a month, times that by a $35 RPM, probably doing about $3,500 a month. And once again, we found this by just using the SEO method. And of course, you can take this a step further. You can keep scrolling. You can filter it by this month. And of course, you don't need to limit this to ultra long form. You can use this in even regular long form. Of course, it does work best in ultra long form, but for example, if you wanted to find channels like Bound, you could look up why it sucks to be born as, and you might be able to find micro niches. You guys can see how some of these people like Bound, they kind of stick with these real world animals, whereas some of these guys like Wallace, they stick with kind of fandoms and more so cartoons and movies. So what you can actually do is find a big niche that's blowing up and kind of find sub niches and smaller kind of industries that are doing well with that same search term. And of course, by filtering this by the last week, we'll see a ton of competitors we can kind of replicate. And bang, just like that, we found a brand new channel, Sketching the Wild, why it sucks to be born as a platypus. And then of course, you see a ton of different ones all blowing up, like Giblixy, why it sucks to be born as a Diplocaulus, whatever the hell that is. And guys, really quickly, if you want to work directly with myself and my team to scale your ultra long form channel, this is the only ultra long form mentorship on the entire market. I work directly with you. Check out innervault.co. It'll be linked down below once again. Feel free to apply, book a call. These are all of our testimonials. And if I decide I want to work with you, I'll definitely reach out and we can have a completely free one-on-one chat. But yes, let's get back into the video. Now, there are a few other ways to kind of find YouTube automation channels and niches as a whole. That would obviously be YouTube tools. For example, like NextLev. I know a lot of you guys kind of talk about this. Realistically, I'm not a big fan of kind of YouTube tools as a whole, but I figured I'd include it just so you guys know all the options you can kind of utilize. Now, this is the last kind of method we're going to talk about before we talk about the conversion method. This is called the incognito method, and it's super self-explanatory. So all you want to do is make a brand new browser, usually just do this as a guest browser. And as you guys can see, I have nothing on my homepage, right? Completely nothing. But what we kind of do is start filtering this and training our specific algorithm. Let's say, for example, we loved ultra long form channels. All we would do is essentially look up 2 hours of to fall asleep to. And what we would start doing is just watching a bunch of these videos, and that's going to train our algorithm to be entirely kind of built for YouTube automation. So without yapping, let me go ahead and do this right now and show you what it actually does. And as you guys can see, I've just watched a couple ultra long form videos, and now my entire feed is just ultra long form. You can see here like 2 hours of random fun facts to make you feel smart and cozy. That's a brand new channel that's just started, and holy shit, I have never seen this guy before, and he is absolutely killing it. Just by scrolling, you can see how many channels we've essentially trained our algorithm to find. Now we have Snook, horrifying Reddit threads, 1.5 hours. And of course we have this one here. It's kind of just showing us and feeding us a ton of ultra long form. Like this one, this Reddit ultra long form undersparked, 2 hours long, the complete history of Adult Swim, reading viewers' darkest confessions while playing Minecraft, all these insanely good channels that are entirely made on the niche we wanted to find. And of course, guys, you can take this a step further. I only spent like 2 minutes watching videos. If you want to do regular long form, if you want to just do regular short form, find a niche you kind of like in the YouTube automation space, train your feed to be able to feed you content in that similar style, and just go on the homepage and search and search and search, build up a document, and just find a ton of untapped niches. Now, this is what I mean by kind of merging and finding proof of concept. For example, you guys have seen me talk about this a million times. We have people like Three-Eyed Theorist who essentially post videos like Game of Thrones what if. So like, what if Ned convinced Jon Snow not to join the Night's Watch? It's essentially Game of Thrones ultra long form, just talking about what if, you know, what if regarding that specific TV show or fandom. Now, of course, they use ChatGPT to write the script, they use 11 Labs to do the voice or whatever voice acting software they might be using, and then they literally just use stock images for the background. And of course, because we already found this channel and we know that this kind of content ultra long form works on YouTube, we could merge this and this kind of comes into what I was talking about with migrating different niches. We could simply know that Game of Thrones works and do this with a ton of different shows. For example, Harry Potter. For all I know, you could be the only person doing Harry Potter what ifs in the ultra long form space. Or for example, The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings. All that matters is that the niche or the show you might be doing has proof of concept on YouTube as a whole. That's kind of what I mean by POC. So for example, you'd want to at least see if that specific niche has somewhat of a presence on YouTube, like Harry Potter what ifs. And by searching this up, you can see there is a ton of people already doing kind of what ifs on Harry Potter, and they're absolutely exploding. They might not have their whole channel dedicated towards it, but this is a really good sign that this kind of idea has a presence on YouTube as a whole. And that kind of funnels back into finding a niche that's already working, and rather than just replicating that niche that has a ton of competition and they're already blowing up, you can become the sole pioneers and the only people doing your specific niche. And guys, once again, if you want to work directly with myself in scaling an ultra long form channel, go ahead and check out innervault.co. It's my one-on-one mentorship program. And if you want to join my public Discord server, that's discord.gg/1%. Honestly, just a really cool networking environment. As I said before, we do weekly calls together, and it's honestly just a really, really cool place to kind of connect with some like-minded people. But yes, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.